What up? What up? What up? It's
Hey,
your boy Aaron Bevins and Sierra Monique with the one and only, our homies, our family, Carlos and Vanessa Todd. How in the world are y'all doing?
doing wonderful.
Doing great, man. Doing great. It's exciting.
We're super excited, y'all, because we're doing something different with today's episode, which is unlike anything that we've ever done. And that is, as you can see in the caption below, we're going to go over 12 things to remember when building business as a couple. And I feel like there's not a whole lot of content out there with couples talking about some of the trials, some of the blessings, some of the pitfalls, but also ways to maximize, if you're in a situation where you are in a relationship and maybe your spouse or significant other is not an entrepreneur, things to keep in mind. Or what if you're building a business and your spouse is building another business, or if y'all are building the business together? There are dynamics. There's certain dynamics that this is one of those if you know type things. And so, right? So Carlos and Vanessa are based out of San Antonio. We're going to let them introduce themselves and right after the intro, but they are incredibly successful. They're doing some really exciting things. I have an opportunity to meet with Carlos every other week, and to see what they're doing in business is really, really dope. So shout out to everybody from IG to Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, everybody who's tuning in live, and everybody who's going to be watching on the replay. I can't wait to go over this value with y'all. Right after this intro, we're going to get right into it. No fluff, just meat and potatoes. Let's get it.
We made it, that's facts, ayy. We the greatest, that's facts, ayy. Prices raising, that's facts, ayy. That's right. But we paid it, that's facts, ayy. I did. They hate it, that's facts, ayy. Cause we changing, that's facts, ayy. We did. Can't blame them, that's facts, ayy. Cause we made it, that's facts, ayy. Cherry on top, that's a goat, yeah. Where you been, I wanna know, yeah. Greatest story ever told, yeah. Greatest story ever told, yeah. I know you wanna look up for this. Baby, let me turn you up a bit. You said you made it through hell and back. Give me the school, baby, tell the facts. Don't be shy.
What's up, family?
What's
What's
up?
up?
What's up?
So excited to have you guys. Carlos and Vanessa are some of our favorite people. So we're really excited that they joined us today. And like Aaron mentioned, we are going over 12 things to keep in mind when you are in a relationship and building a business with entrepreneurs, or one of you being an entrepreneur. So do you guys want to get us popped off with
Point number one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, point number one is being patient. And we have a really beautiful dynamic where we're able to speak to each other and let each other know, like, hey, specifically, like, I feel like you're not being patient with me. So if you could just meet this time frame and know that I need to complete this item. This is my deadline on it. If you notice that it hasn't been done in that time frame, you're welcome to help me. I'll receive your support.
Honestly, though, like if we're gonna add real, true context to this, listen,
My man said if you go to 100.
we gotta keep it real, right? So one of the big things that about patience is you really have to know your person too. So you know some things that your person is patient about and some things that they are not patient about. So there are sometimes in business and entrepreneurship, like you want things done like this, especially when your money is on the line, or your name is on the line, or your results are on the line, and it's time is truly and honestly of the essence. But I can really say, like, we both understand the philosophy, like success loves speed. So if it's something that we have to get to, we'll get to it very, very quickly. But also some of us love naps. So if it's not pressing and I could take a little bit of time to get to it, like we'll take our time to get to it. But honestly, the patience thing is probably like one of the biggest pillars, I guess, in the whole entire relationship, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree, especially with new things. If something is new to only one of you, you have to have patience with the other person because they're learning,
Mm-hmm.
and communication plays a huge part in this one.
Facts.
Yes.
yeah. I would say, and being patient is manifested in our body language, right? The tone of voice, and our actions, right? So being patient is not just saying, okay, I'm being patient. It's like, because we might be saying I'm being patient, but the way we're talking to the other person might not come off that way, and so that can be something that impacts the the whole mood, the whole vibe as a couple, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so that's point number one. Anything else we want to add on that, Vanessa?
Hey, I think that I'm innately a very patient person and observer, so that goes into my patience. If I'm not seeing that any action is really being taken around what I'm being patient about, I might do it myself. And then that, I know that kind of offends him because he wants to serve me.
I am so glad that you brought this up, because this is a real thing. This is a real thing. Can we just talk about this real quick? Because this is what Vanessa just brought up. No, because what Vanessa just brought up right now, I feel like is a universal. Like, there's even memes about it or reels where it's like it'll be like me 30 seconds after asking my man to do something, and like he doesn't do it, and like you can see like it's like the woman carrying a TV or like trying to replace the. So where does this come from? Like, and I'm asking sincerely to the ladies, because I feel like normally the stereotypical joke is that the woman would ask the guy to do something that is important, and the guy's like, yeah, I'll get to it, and then we end up taking 3 or 5 or 10 or an hour, a few hours, and then it's like frustrating. So like, where does that come from? Is it the sense of like it's not important because we're not doing it right away? Is this a communication thing? And I'm asking sincerely out of ignorance.
I think it's one of two things. One, as women, we do a lot already, and so we don't even ask. So if we do get to the point where we are asking, we legitimately need help, and we want it done in a timely manner, because it's taken. There was many steps that happened before we even asked. And then second thing for me, at least, is a lot of women are in survival mode, and they do everything on their own. Like, I know I speak from a place where I didn't have help. So for me, it's like, I don't like asking for help, because I mean, it can also be like it's not done correctly. So I think it's just like the time that by the time we get to asking, we do want it done, because we're already asking. Like, if it was something we could have done, we would have done it ourselves.
You know what? I did not think this was going to be a counseling session. I thought we were here to provide value. But I was legitimate. Like, whenever you brought that up, Vanessa, I'm like, no, that is an interesting dynamic that came to my mind whenever I saw that we were going to be discussing the point of being patient with your partner, especially if y'all are building a business together. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's good. I feel like that's something I should be taking notes on. I love it.
Okay, so the second thing you want to remember about in your relationship is a big no-no, and you never want to air out your dirty laundry or laundry in general. Like, you always want to communicate any disputes or disagreements. You want to keep those private. Those should never be discussed publicly.
Yeah. So my OGs, when I was younger, they gave me the advice to never allow other people to see your relationship sweat. And the reason why, and it was a little bit TMI the way I explained it, but they're my OGs, so they were talking to me intimately. And what they said was, when you have an argument with your spouse or your significant other, right, you get to go back and make up with them, and you get to go back and make love to them.
Oh, hold up.
But see, if we go to a homegirl, homeboy, or whatever, and we start airing our dirty laundry to them, they're gonna be like, he said what? Or she did what?
Yeah.
They don't get to go make up with them. So in their mind, it's like they hold on to it because they ride for their person, and their person is the person who is shared. So it's like, if Carlos comes to tell me something about Vanessa, and that's my homie, and we're drinking and smoking cigars, I'm here. I'm on Carlos' team.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, so in my mind, I'm like, dang, that's crazy that she did that, bro. Carlos gets to go back and make up to Vanessa, but in my mind, I still have that little feeling of it's been 2 weeks since me and Carlos talk, and then whenever I talk, I'm like, hey, but how are you and Vanessa? And he might be like, oh, I forgot I even told you about that. But in my mind, I'm like, all I know about Vanessa is the last thing you told me about her 2 weeks ago. So, and that could be with anybody. That could be with our team. That could be with your friends. That could be with mom and dad. That could be within you. So that's why I love that advice. And that's something that when, like early on when we started talking, that I was like, look, this is one of my philosophies. We don't talk about our dirty laundry with anybody. I don't talk about it with my mom, my dad. I don't talk about it with my brother, sister. Like that's for us to be able, and unless we need counseling and have to go out and do that, we don't air out our dirty laundry. So I really like that point.
But that's not to say that you wait to address it.
Yeah.
You do want to address it more immediate than just let it linger, because there's issues that come with holding on to it and not addressing it. You just never want to do it publicly.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100%. I'm a very, very firm believer in like there's a time and place for everything. Truly and honestly, like there really is a time and place for everything. Some things you don't have to have that conversation like at that exact point in time. Yeah, you're going to talk about it. It's inevitable. But I'm not going to talk about it, especially if it's a problem, like if it's a major, like non-negotiable thing. We need to have this conversation, but it don't need to be right now because we're out with family or out in public on vacation, or we're in certain settings where, just like what you said, Aaron, some people are unforgiving. Where you forgive your partner, other people are not. So you still have to protect your house and you have to protect your person at all costs at the end of the day. Even though somebody else doesn't forgive them, that's still who you got to deal with.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That's another perspective. This is why this is so dope, because there's like different perspectives to each one of these points. And I know we got to keep time because I could talk probably forever on all these topics, but I didn't even think about that perspective. Well, I think you alluded to it too behind the scenes, where part of airing out dirty laundry is if we're disturbed or upset about something, in front of our clients is probably not the time to talk about this. You know what I mean? In front of family that's visiting, now's not the time for us to talk about this. You know what I mean? And that does go into airing out dirty laundry as a couple, because that people are going to go around and they will not be forgiving even in terms of what they share with their friends and with their family. And we have a brand as a couple, right? Isn't that true? There's like our individual brands, but we have a brand as a couple. So absolutely. I love it. Okay, point number 2. So point number 3, we're passing the ball back to the Tods. What's point number 3?
So you got to make sure. I'm gonna cut to the chase, right? Stay ready so you don't got to get ready, right? So this is you really have to be flexible and understand like there's gonna be spontaneity in your relationship. Everything is not going to be according to schedule or according to plan 24/7. As an entrepreneur, we already know you have to stay flexible. So even with the actual business side of things, you have to stay flexible, but you also got to stay flexible in the personal side as well. So you got to make sure that you're accommodating and making adjustments as needed. Sometimes you got to call an audible on the fly, right? So you got to make the adjustments. Yeah, no,
absolutely, definitely. The spontaneity is a part of your lifestyle. So just being okay with perhaps the shift in schedule, like you have to kind of just look at it half glass full, like, oh, well, actually we have a little time, like maybe we can get lunch real quick over here. Or I saw one time y'all were riding bikes. I saw that y'all were like, this is a random date that we're on, like you're just out here because it's your favorite person anyway. So it's just the opportunity that you have to be with them and use the time that you're using with them. Like, oh, okay, we were supposed to be doing the work or this, just like we were coming over here, like we had a closing and then we were supposed to go to a walkthrough, and then our client called us and was like, actually, I'm not really feeling this. And we're just like, great. And like,
perfect.
waiting on us.
Like, I can help you get what you want. And you have freed me up of something that I was making time to do so that I could do something else that I also need to do. So it's like, things change, and if you're okay and flexible with it and you just go with the flow.
I think one of the things that set entrepreneurs apart is the ability to pivot. So I think when you have two entrepreneurs in your relationship, it's easier to understand where it may be more challenging when there's one entrepreneur, because they don't understand the thing. There's no, I wouldn't know how to, like, the people who aren't used to having to pivot would probably be offended easily. And I imagine that would be really difficult. So for us, that's an advantage that both of us are an entrepreneur, because we expect that. We expect things to change. Nothing is going to go as planned, but we're still going to plan anyways. And we just pivot, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the advantage that we have as couples, is not only are we all entrepreneurs, but we all work together with we work together with our person, right? But for those who are listening, I think that might be where they're dating an entrepreneur, maybe they're dating somebody who's a W-2 and they're an entrepreneur. You know, it's setting the expectation that, like, look, there will be a need for flexibility. You know, there will be a need for us to expect some spontaneity in our relationship and in our schedule, because things happen that take priority in business that require for us to pivot.
And that brings us to the fourth step, which is clarifying the mood. So with as an entrepreneur, there's going to be peaks and there's going to be valleys, there's going to be highs and lows. And when your partner is experiencing some type of emotion, whether they're like everything's going wrong, you have to be able to clarify that their mood has nothing to do with you. And the same thing is true for when everything's going right. You have to be able to, like, go with it, but know that you have to be able to identify what they're feeling, so that when things aren't as great, you're able to pinpoint that and not take it personal.
Can we talk about this? There's a speech that I give oftentimes whenever I'm asked to speak at events, and it's called The Psychological Effect of Entrepreneurship. And it says that entrepreneurs are X percentage more likely to be susceptible to mood swings, to be susceptible to, and that means being at the top of the world on Monday because we just got the deal and we're about to close, to being in the depths of despair on Wednesday, right? And so because of that, and not only that, there's another aspect of it that typically if you're called to be an entrepreneur, it's typically because you have a dynamic personality. And there's something about you that makes that is pulling you towards entrepreneurship. And that dynamic personality makes you extra more susceptible to mood swings and things like this. Now, that doesn't give us a justification to act out and be away. But the fact of the matter is, we have to face these internal demons. Hence that speech's name, which is The Psychological Effect of Entrepreneurship. So I love this point on if you're dating an entrepreneur, you're married to an entrepreneur, you got to clarify the mood sometimes and make sure that little bit of where that attitude came from has nothing to do with you, but it might be something that's happening behind the scenes.
Also, on the opposite side, if you are the entrepreneur, set the expectation. I know that the Hormozis do that, where they say this, I'm putting my friend cap on. I need my best friend right now. Or if they're back in work mode, they say that I need you to listen to what I'm saying and take the emotion out of things for a few seconds. So not only clarifying the mood, but on the opposite end, setting that expectation of, this is what I'm about to express to you.
Yeah.
I think I think sometimes, like, whenever it comes to mood swings. So for example, I am a hangry person.
We get it personal, y'all.
I'm a hangry person, right? So Vanessa, I'll be thrown off completely. But it's just the fact of, she's like, babe, are you hungry? And I'm like, yeah, I'm hungry. She's like, okay, hold on 1 second. So the truth of the matter is, like, when you really know your person too, and you know some of those things that can easily trigger them, or the nonverbals, right? So a lot of times communication is two ways, right? It's verbal delivery and it's nonverbal delivery. If you know your person in that stage of your relationship, then it's easier for you to just analyze them and say, like, okay, something's going on. I know you're off, or I know you're bothered, or I know something's going on with you. Let me first either try to ask and clarify. And us as guys, we're like, no, I'm good. No, I'm good all day long. But I think the reality of it is like sometimes knowing your person, communicating that, and then establishing that standard of dialogue makes it a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And like you said, just the friend thing, or like I'm asking you for the purposes of clarification. Like, why am I talking to you about this? Because, even sometimes, so Carlos, he always answers the phone when I call, like every time, right? And if he doesn't, he texts me back like, hey, I'm doing whatever, right? But he always responds to a call. And sometimes he'll answer the phone to tell me he's on the other line.
That's a good practice.
And I'm
take note of that, fellas. Wait, why are you laughing?
So when he does that, though, sometimes I'm like, can you just wait one moment? I just have a question for you. Like, he might say, hey, babe, I got so-and-so on the other line, and I'll feel myself get so like,
You're glitching.
So I'll be like, can you just take 1 second to listen to what I have to ask you, please? And he'll be like, oh, sure, go ahead. And then it'll be like the one question. He'll be like, oh yeah, this is this and this. And I'm like, all right, do you need something to eat later? Okay, go ahead and get back to your call. So it is like, being able to say like what you're doing, because I realize like if I let him get off the phone in that moment and I still need whatever it is, and I do need to speak to him, I might be more upset, or I might have attitude or something further than it needs to go, when it's just like, communicate what you need so that if he can address it, then he will. And if not, he'll say, okay, well, let me call you right back so I can it goes from there. So yeah.
I know.
It's so simple, but so powerful, yo.
I know I said it off before we were live, but as women, we operate from love. Like we need to feel love in all that we do, and men need to feel respected. And so whenever one of those are not on track, something is going to go wrong. And that like kind of sounds like what Vanessa was saying, where she's like, do you need to eat? And then she's like, and then I'll have an attitude. And then that's going to make him feel like some type of way, because like, whoa, I was just doing this, So it's all about just communicating the way your person needs to be communicated to.
Yeah, that's insight. This is insightful. It's so funny, yo. I think I've already said this, but like I really appreciate this conversation, yo, because like we just came to like drop gems and like give an interchange, but I feel like there's so many aha moments that I'm already, you know what I mean, here. Like, man, I need to keep that in mind. You know what I mean? All right, so point 5, ball is in the Todd's court. What's point number 5 to keep in mind when building business as a couple?
Okay, point number 5 is commit to personal development, or work on building your identity. So whatever that looks like for you, if it's a self-help book, if it's personally researching something that's going to make you better, studying your personality type, finding out what makes you click, what makes you respond, why you're like this, going to therapy. It really could be so many things that could assist you in being a better person, but it's really making yourself whole so that you can be a whole person for your partner, I think.
I think this is huge for when couples is one entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. I think it is huge for the entrepreneurs so that they still have an identity. Maybe hang out with friends, get a couple hobbies, find something that makes you, so you don't feel like you're a shadow to your person or you're always in the dark, And then as far as if you're both entrepreneurs, we love personal development. So we're constantly trying to go and invite friends. And so I think that part should just be a role.
In life, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, because it's so valuable. And then when you start learning things, and it's like your brain is always moving. And I feel like one of my favorite parts of being a student is being a student. Like learning, like that your brain is expanding, and then you're also aware when it's not. So because the moment that you start doing it again, you're like, oh wow, I tapped into something, like my brain is doing something different versus like, oh, every day that I didn't read, and then how you feel when you read for 10 minutes. Like it's so different.
One of the best illustrations I've heard about the need for each member of the couple to do self-development is like when you first get together, the illustration says both members of the partnership are on opposite ends of a mountain. And the more we develop personally, right? It's the more we develop like in terms of our self-image and self-develop, it's like we're climbing up. Well, the higher we climb, the closer we come together because the higher we get to a summit, right? And so I think that's a perfect illustration, like because one person can be developing, and actually what'll end up happening is that it actually ends up tearing them apart. If only one person is committing to self-development, then it'll actually result in a growing apart further. So both people need to be self-developing in order for us to feel as a couple like we're progressing together, like we're getting closer, we're getting better at this thing called life together. You know what I mean? Especially as entrepreneurs, where if we want to grow in business, we have to grow our self-image. You know, the more our self-image grows, the more we grow, and the more our business grows, we have to adjust. So if we're not growing, like we're going to be left in the lurches.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're 100% right. And a lot of times too, when we hear the word identity, like everybody takes it into a lot of different contexts, but you got to work on yourself in all 5 pillars of your life, right? So that's your mental, your physical, your personal, your financial, and your social. So who are you outside of your relationship? Meaning like when your significant other is not around, who are you? Is that person the same person that you are when you are in your relationship? Like, do those two people align? And ultimately, is it actually going to get you closer to whatever your relationship goal is? Because every single area has a goal. Like, is my identity where it needs to be in order for me to actually become or have whatever I want to have? So if it doesn't, then that's where the personal development comes into play. The only reason why you lose in reality of relationship, finances, or whatever is you will always fall down to your level of development. So whenever you hit that next level of growth in business or relationship, whether you go from single to relationship to engaged to married, have you developed yourself at each of those levels? Because if you have not brought yourself up to the level of married or a husband or to the level of a committed relationship, you're always going to fall back, especially when you get into those points where your significant other is getting on your nerves, they're bothering you, you need a break, you need peace, you're completely separated, so you're not in the same environment or place. As entrepreneurs, we're traveling around a lot, right? So there might be one time where I'm all the way in Victoria, Texas, and Vanessa's in San Antonio. Did I develop myself to be able to sustain who I am when I'm with her, when I'm separated?
Bro, we out here dropping massive gems.
Yeah.
Massive gems. And one more thing on this, and I know we got to keep it moving because we have a few more points to cover. But doesn't it take a commitment to personal development? Because how often do we see, and sometimes the tendency is even with me where, you know, when there's an issue, psychology 101 is we blame the first person that we can see. You know what I mean? Anytime there's an issue, it's so easy to blame the other person, where it's like, if we've committed to self-development, at least we're reasonable enough to be like, Dad, well, that one was my fault. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's so important, because if we have the habit of always pointing fingers, man, that can make for such a miserable situation. So
that just sounds miserable.
It sounds miserable. All right. Yeah. So point number 6. All right. Point number 6 is spice up your intimate life. Now, I appreciate this one. I appreciate this one, not just for obvious reasons, because I'm a very driven person because we got to keep it PG. But this is important because, you know, as an entrepreneur, you are asking to work 40, 60, 80 plus hours for your first 3, 4, 5 years of building. If you don't think that is what it's going to take in order to create a B quadrant business, you're just naive. It's either you're okay working 30 to 40 hours a week as an entrepreneur, but you're going to be working the rest of your life, or you're going to be putting in 60, 80 plus hours a week so that you can create an asset that's going to be working for you, right? And so the point is, regardless, we're incredibly busy as entrepreneurs, and it's important to stay dating as a couple. It's important to stay, being intimate, and that it's not just sexual intimacy, but there's the casual intimacies throughout the day, the casual text throughout the day, things like that. That it can be easy to neglect those things, especially like for me. This is my confession. Bro, I'm so one-track minded. Like it's caveman style. Like I can legitimately focus on one thing at a time. And when I'm focused in my zone, bro, like get out of my way. And I don't even sometimes acknowledge certain things. And something that Cece's had to call me out of, like, especially whenever we were first like starting to talk, was she'll be like text me back.
Please.
You know what I mean?
Please, do you want
like yo? She's like, at least acknowledge that I texted you and let me know. You know what I mean? And so I feel like I've gotten better.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gotten better, but
no, for sure.
But I be one track minded. I be in a meeting and I'm so like blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And then back to back. So the spicing up the intimate life is going out of our way to send the text like, hey, I miss you. It's only been a few hours, or I love you. I
think it's being creative too. It's not just about like sexual intimacy, like don't walk past your person and not touch them if you haven't spoke to them in all day, like touch them. They need to feel that. We need to feel a connection. I know I'm speaking for myself because I like that. But that is a language in itself. Like you're communicating through your body. And so it is very important that it's not just focused here on sexual intimacy. You have to be creative and you also have to prioritize it.
But let's also keep it all the way 100. All right. No, I'm gonna throw this out there. Because Napoleon Hill speaks about this, and he says most successful people in general also have strong sex drives, right? And so I'm speaking to the high performers out there. Like, listen, this whole idea of I'm a hold out on sexual intimacies to get back, that is not healthy, especially if you are dating an entrepreneur. Because but I'm not even trying to be TMI. Like in the book Think and Grow Rich, because I keep that thing on me. All right. In the book Think and Grow Rich, it says that one of the most therapeutic, mentally detoxifying things that you can engage in is sexual intimacies with your person. That's scientific, right? So being that we are so wired and high strung, it is important that those intimacies are important. And so I'm just kind of throwing that out there as a word of caution to entrepreneurial couples who are watching this. Like, don't do that to your man. I'm telling you from a man's perspective, don't do that to your man. It is not safe. And I imagine it's the same thing with women, but I can speak from a man's perspective. Like, please do not do that to your man. That is so unhealthy, especially if you plan on doing big things together, because this world is crazy, and it's just not, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. Right.
Yeah. So two things that I want to add to that is there's a study that says that you need 12 hugs a day for growth. And we might hug and be like, oh, we're on number 3. Like,
so cute.
But we also made this rule that like you can't walk past me without giving me a kiss. So if you do, then you're in debt. Like, because you got to walk past again. So, yes.
And she keeps count, and she definitely keeps count.
I keep count, but like, so like if I'm cooking or something, or he's getting ready to go, especially if he might be getting ready to go, because like he said, I like to sleep in. I'm a later morning type of person in comparison to others, but I'll hear him shifting around and I might turn around and be like, what are you running back and forth doing? And he'll be like, oh, I got to go to this. I got to get to so-and-so in 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay. So he'll be going past the bed to the restroom and to the iron board and then like go start the coffee. And I'm like, yo, fam, come pay up. And like, you need to run me my money. It's in kisses though.
Give me my money.
So we kiss a lot. So, and sometimes obviously that's not around our clients, but it's definitely something that maintains like a connection between us. And it's like an ongoing game. And yeah,
we do have a similar role.
Yeah,
so it's pretty funny when we're not happy with each other and the rules still have to
still apply. You're right.
Like you still have to kiss before it, like even though you're upset, it's like a
them angry pet kisses. Aggressive pet kiss.
Yes. I just sit there like this. He's like, yo, you're not gonna like you put your lips on mine. That's the kiss.
You fucking your lips, not me. Yo,
so funny.
That is we airing out all the stuff right now. I love it. Okay, so let's keep it moving. We have a few more. I don't know if you guys in audience land are having fun, but look what Miles just put.
Laundry room.
Yo, it's an inside joke.
It's
an inside joke. But we'll tell y'all off the screen. It's super funny.
Wow.
All right. Dina says a massive kiss connection game changer is holding your kiss for at least 5 seconds. That's when your energy connects at a minimum. And there was actually a study that was done that I heard recently that said that people who kiss for a minute or more before separating, couples that kiss for a minute or more before separating for the day tend to stay together longer and tend to live longer. And I was like, oh, that's really, really interesting. So I don't know if that's valid, but I did hear that. So really, really interesting. Let's keep it moving. Point number 7 is in the Todd's court.
So point number 7 is don't try to control your person. Allow them to do what they do best. And really and honestly, like this is so true because my biggest thing in our, I guess, context of our business and our relationship is I don't think that either one of us are really controlling. Like we know where each other's strong suits are and we know where each other's weaknesses are, if we have any, realistically speaking, but we never like are overbearing, over controlling. We'll communicate. Like sometimes I'll be on the go. And usually by the time 10 a.m. starts, it's nonstop for me. And it's nonstop for me from 10 a.m. all the way until like 7, 8 p.m. So Vanessa will call me throughout the day, or I'll call her throughout the day. And I'll use yesterday morning, for example. Yesterday morning, I get up, I run out the house, and that's that situation like, where are you going? Okay, come back and give me a kiss. Cool. Boom, I jump in the car. So I usually ask her every morning, like, hey, what's on your schedule? What's on my schedule? We'll have that conversation. But remember, always be flexible. So I end up going to this appointment, getting the termination of contract, pulling away from there, and I park my car. And I'm parking my car, I pop my computer up, I'm taking calls, I'm making calls, I'm filling out contracts, paperwork, everything's sitting right there in the car. She's like, where are you at? What are you doing? We have each other's location. She's like, babe, where are you at? I'm like, I had to pull over real quick. I had to pop up the computer. Like, I'm working. But she never is in a sense of, you need to do this, you need to do that. You have to be here, you have to be there. It's always open communication, open dialogue. And I think that's pretty much one of the easiest parts about our relationship is we're not overly controlling.
I think that for the control factor, personally, I feel like if you want to control someone, you don't like them. And you are looking to change their personality.
Wow.
That's how I receive it. So if I'm asking you to shift something in your personality or some type of way, I'm trying to control you in that way, it suggests to me that I don't like you. And that is not.
I never thought about that.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And so that's not the message that I'm trying to convey ever. I never want that to be. So I'm very sensitive to that. And so I try my best to convey that in a way that's like, I saw you did something like this. These are the reasons why I'm bringing this up. These are yellow flags to me.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I don't want you to change, the way that you act, the way that you interact with people. I just want you to be mindful of how it affects
Aware.
Bro, that's
I feel
so
like-
mature. That's
I feel
so
like
that's such a bar.
I do feel like we when we are openly discussing things, we do say things like, or help me see what I missed, you know? So whenever I'm explaining certain things, like help me see, or did I miss something? Like, I feel like we are really good when it comes to that. And we do a lot of the same things. Like you said that you guys go over the scheduling. So I do feel like we do that. It's never coming from a place of where like, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's important because we value what each other is saying enough to respect and hear them out. Because if they're making a suggestion, it's probably because they know us best. And it's not necessarily like you have to do this. It's not, you know, like we're not controlling. So I feel like we're right on the same page with you guys.
Yeah. For sure. I love it. All right, good stuff. Point number 8.
Number 8 is applauding their achievements and praising them.
So huge.
Especially if you guys are not in the same industry. I know that we do a lot of things together, but we are also in completely separate businesses as well. And so it's super important to give each other praise and applaud the way that each other likes to be celebrated.
Yeah.
And every achievement is just as important as the next. So it may not be on a level like that's comparable, but it doesn't mean that it should be celebrated any less.
Yeah.
You have anything to add to that?
I'm so big on this because I'm a firm believer that we were talking about this behind the scenes, that men want to be respected, right? And you know, a man is just a grown up. A man is just a little boy in a grown man's body, right? I've always said this, like, and growing up as little boys, we were either like, Mom, Dad, like, look how fast I could run. Look how fast I could jump. You know what I mean? Mom, look at me. And then, you know, we're in a tree somewhere. And all a little boy truly wants is for mom or dad. And when dad did it, it was special. But if mom did it, it did something to us. If mom said, oh, you are so strong, man, a little boy's heart will go sailing through the moon, you know, and beyond. And so, you know, what a man wants from his wife or his significant other, his woman, what he wants is for her to be like, you are so strong. You are so good at this. I'm so proud of you. Like that you want to melt your man's heart. Like that is, and I'm only speaking that way because I can speak from a man's perspective, but you know, that's what it looks like. I know that for a fact, I will go out and conquer the entire world and I'll slay dragons and I'll have the tough conversations and run a whole business if I could just come home and have the moment where Cece's like, you are him. I'll go, hey, and then I'll go to bed and do it again tomorrow just for that. I know that that's me. And even if our love languages are different, universally, I know that men are the same. So yeah, this one really hits home in terms of a
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes into like what you said too. Me and Vanessa actually talked about that book a couple of years ago. Like we did a Facebook Live, like going over the 5 love languages because we read it together. And it was
like when we first started.
This was when we first got together. It was like 2018 timeframe, 2018, maybe 2019, somewhere around there. And we know each other's like love languages. So like what is of importance, like order operations, right? That's basically like the 5. And you figure out what's the most important. So like for me, I'm really big on like words of affirmation. Vanessa's really big on quality time. Like if she don't get quality time, it's like the house is falling down. Like, what are you doing? I remember sometimes going to the office and I'll not at home, I'll be at the office and she'll call me like every single day, like clockwork, 7:30. What are you doing? Why are you still at the office? Why are you not at home? Like there's nothing else that you can do. You can't make phone calls at 8 o'clock. Like, what are you doing?
They not talking. They don't want to talk at this time. You should get in the car and this way.
So like, but even in those contexts, like whenever we're doing well, we always talk about it. Like we know what our goals are. And I think that's really big for couples is to really understand what your goals are. And Aaron preaches metrics, right? He gets on me about documenting numbers and staying on top of numbers, but you should still have metrics in your relationships too. You should know when your significant other's hitting milestones. You should know when they're losing weight and they're excited about their weight goals. You should know like little stuff like Vanessa likes to get a tan, so she's happy when she's nice and tanned in the summertime time frame. So I can applaud her for that, right? You should know those little things, even like when gets their hair done. That's as minute as it seems. They love to hear that compliment, like, "Wow, babe, your hair!" Like, what? Or anything like that. It always just adds a little bit extra love into the relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that, in addition to that knowing your significant other's love language and being able to applaud them in that way, because I'm my affirmation is way low. Like, I'm not gonna not receive an affirmation and think that you don't love me, but if I never got one, if it went all week and you just didn't say anything that was like, "Oh, you did a good job at this," it wouldn't really like for real affect me. And I just feel like growing up as an athlete and things like that, it don't move me in the same way. And so I have to be really mindful of that, because it's easy for me to not offer that same thing.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
You do have to know your partner's love language, because then you can applaud and praise them the way that they want to receive it, or the way they want to receive it.
Yes, so I have to be really mindful of that, because as he said, we all know that is high on his list, even the way that he affirms me. So he does that privately and he also does that publicly. And, it's so funny because like when people talk to me about that, like, "Oh my gosh, I love how much how he loves you." And I'm just like, "Oh, then your words of affirmation are high for you then." Like, yeah, I see that.
Wow, that makes so much sense, because we even talked about that. I kid you not, we were talking about y'all, and we were talking about that, how much Carlos like loves on you in public, and we were talking amongst ourselves like, I wonder if like Vanessa like really appreciates that, or like what's the dynamic there. So this is actually really dope to hear behind the scenes. You know what I mean, what that looks like with y'all. That's super dope.
So
Gems on gems, y'all. All right, we got a couple more. The next one is in the Todd family's court. Number 9. What's number 9, y'all?
Number 9, lead the schedule. Schedule everything. So we have had a running date night scheduled since maybe 2019. It's like to infinity. You know how you go on your calendar and just put it. Yep. So it's every Sunday. And it was previously on Wednesday because we used to live in separate cities. And so we just never went a whole week without seeing each other. So we would lock in Wednesday. One of us would come to the opposite city. We would go on a date or spend time together, but we always make sure. So now it's on Sunday because we live together and we're married now. So, but, and it's easier, but Sunday, 6 p.m. We on a date, whatever that looks like. And it's funny because now we might be riding in the car and it pop up on both of our calendar, the notification come up on the Apple Play or whatever. And like, we'll kind of look at each other like, it's date night. Like as soon as it clicks. So very much as an entrepreneur, things must go on the schedule so that we can take them seriously. Because like we discussed earlier, a whole lot of spontaneous things can happen in our life. And if we really wanted to give our full attention to it and prioritize it, it must be on the schedule. And because we know that, sometimes if things get shifted and they don't get on the schedule, it's really important for us, like you said earlier, CC, to be like, dang, it didn't make it to the schedule. Like, okay, I see how this got overlooked. It's not that it's not a priority. It's just that where I look for my priorities, it wasn't there.
No, and even with that, like one of the things I started doing recently, I don't know if y'all do this, like do y'all, maybe I'm fat, I don't care.
No, they do it. I'm
gonna let the world know that I'll be looking at food reels a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Look at my Instagram insights, you might see food every once in a while. So for real, this is what I do when I see a restaurant. I'm like, you know what? Because I know I'm never gonna see this again. It's the sad part. But what I do is I see it. I'm like, oh, you know what? Fuck it. Let's throw it on the calendar. So I'll say, babe, what are you doing this day and this time? She's like, oh, I don't got nothing. Or I'll just grab her phone. I'll take her phone. I look at her calendar. Nothing. Okay, cool. And I schedule, we're going to go eat dinner here. or I'll schedule, something else that looks fun or like it's nice to do, because the reality of it is if it's not on the calendar for me, it does not happen. And it really, like, if you love and you appreciate your significant other as much as you say you do, then you prioritize the things that are of value to both of you, which is, for her, again, quality time, right? So I have to make sure that I throw those things on the calendar. Or I have to make sure that I'm really being intentional about, like, giving her the opportunities to enjoy time and uninterrupted time.
Yes, that part.
That's okay. You're talking to me, but you're not looking at me, right? So that uninterrupted, like, I can repeat verbatim what she says, like word for word. But if I don't do this,
I feel like that also comes from, like, my previously being a teacher. So, like, eye contact is very important to me. So I realized, like, that he is able to multitask, and, like, he might be checking the email and doing a text message, but, like, I'll just stop talking. Like, okay. And then he'll be like, oh yes. I'm like, okay, so you good?
Actually, I do that with Aaron too. I will stop talking because he'll be like, and, like, on his phone, and I know he did not hear what I just said.
Nah, I'd be listening though. I'd be listening.
I'm like, okay. So when he stops and gives a, like, oh, okay, he's looking at me, I'm like, okay, yeah, and then we'll, get to chatting about whatever it is and get to it. But also, sometimes he'll hear things that I know that he knows exactly what I'm talking about, but he'll be asking for more details, like, that are identifying for it. And it's half of the reason is because he's not looking at me. I'm like, you would know what I'm talking about if you just turn your head.
No, but I love that we're talking about this, because again, these are just good reminders for me and all of us and everybody who's listening to this. But don't it be the small little things? I think all of us, one of my pet peeves, and this is why I do try to, like, if I cannot give Cece my undivided attention, let me just finish this text real quick. I was in this text before you started talking to me, so let me just finish this text before. And I try to do that. If not, I'm willing to, because I know one of my biggest pet peeves in life, bro, is if I'm pouring my heart out to you and you're doing this, bro, there's no way you're fully listening to me.
No way. Yeah.
Stop playing, bro. Stop playing. Like, so like, I think, and it's such a small thing. It's such a small thing, but it means so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
That was a really good one. Okay, we only have a few more, and let's blitz through these because we only have a few more minutes. We have point number 10. What's point number 10?
Number 10 is knowing how to deal with critics. You have to anticipate the negativity. It's going to come. Not everyone is liked as an individual or a couple. And you just have to know how to handle certain situations, even if they don't come. It should still be a conversation, like, this may happen, or if this ever happens, how do we react? Or what could we do? You just have to anticipate the negativity, because as you grow, negativity increases as well.
Especially if you're really happy as a couple. If you're really happy as a couple, there is going to be negativity, like, is it real?
Yeah.
Are they compensating on social? It's so, and I wouldn't say we have a lot of haters, but we probably do. And I think that, some of it, a lot of the hate is passive aggressive. Most hate will not be the lion that's roaring in front of you. Most hate, nowadays, is the snake in the grass that's right next to you on some, like, passive aggressive type stuff, trying to either conjure up negativity and or be instigate negativity with little comments like that. So I think that is so important whenever it comes to know how to deal with critics, that we as a team, we never fight each other. We always try to fight the challenge and the critics. And I think another huge part about this is giving each other the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, always having the benefit of the doubt, because other people will ask questions or do things that'll plant seeds. And maybe they might not even be trying to plant seeds, but their own negative perspective maybe suggesting ideas or thoughts that could be breaking the harmony in the household. So I think that this is trying to. Yeah.
I think it's really important when negativity tries to force its way in your relationship to focus on what you can control. Like if you can't control it, then don't entertain it, you know?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
No, I think so. What I was laughing too is when you said like there was gonna be critics. So me and Vanessa have this post that is like viral post from what year was that?
2020.
2020, right? So I sent Vanessa a text. I'm like, hey, can I take you on a date? She's like, yeah, something like that. And I'm like, okay, be ready by this time. Wear this.
What day was it though?
Don't make me lie.
It was a date night day.
Yeah, it was a date night. Okay, it was a date night day. Yeah. So I sent her a text. I'm like, hey, can I take you on a date? Blah, blah, blah. So she posts a picture of her and what she was wearing. I think the picture is like her and what she was wearing. A picture of me and her sitting on the couch like this, hugging her right at the restaurant, and then a screenshot of the text. And I kid you not, that post is still going around today, and people are like,
he's a simp.
He's a simp. Like
she got letting him kiss her on the butt
on the first date.
On the first date, like it's just so deep. And then it's like our friends randomly in there fighting for our life. Like no, this is like and they're respectable humans.
Because they know y'all.
Huh?
Because they know y'all.
Yeah. So really my thought is this. Anybody that's hating is internally not healed. Because if you're hating, if I'm verbally coming out of my mouth to actually hate on somebody, it's some internal things that I'm not dealing with. Because you got 24 hours in a day and you taking a minute or a second to talk about somebody else and what somebody else is doing or anything, you literally ain't fixing nothing that you're dealing with on yourself.
And you typing it out and reading it and pressing send. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, no, that's so heavy. I love it. All right. Balls in the Todd's court. Point 11 to keep in mind when building a business with your significant other.
Don't feed anger or frustration, or don't feed or anger frustration. So I think that there's one thing that I say all the time is that you cannot have an argument if you're the second person. So if someone comes to you and they're upset or they're trying to argue, there will be no argument if you are not engaging in it.
Wow.
Wait, say it again. I'm like, wait, I didn't.
No, it's so simple but profound.
Yeah. So like if I come to you, Cece, and I'm just like, I'm so upset, like, girl, you have me really messed up, and then you respond and your response is calm, it's in the right mind. Or you say like, hey, okay, well, should we talk about this later? Whatever you say, you're the reason why we have an argument or not. Because
if you're not the second person arguing, there can be no argument.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So it
that.
Yeah, that's so powerful.
It requires a response. The only time something like what's beef, right? If somebody beefing with you and you're not beefing with them, are y'all really beefing? No.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no way to argue. But also like in the context of like work and relationships, if I know something is frustrating you and bothering you, let's say, for example, we're having an off day, right? And we don't like each other, which is rare. I don't even think we had days like that. We don't like each other. So, and we don't like each other. And I specifically do something intentionally that I know is going to piss you off.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally feeding the fire. Like, why would I intentionally try to take you even further than you already are?
Mm-hmm.
It's just being malicious. And at this point, it's being petty because there's no reason why you should do anything to continuously hurt the person that you say that you really care about.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because if you were happy, you wouldn't be doing that.
Exactly. And so there's this book, I forget the title, but it has something to do with like the positive and negative cycle. And it's about marriage. And it's good for like people that just got married, but obviously anyone. And essentially, anytime that I'm like, maybe a friend comes to me and they're telling me like, oh, like we just can't get on the same page. Like, and I'm like, well, it goes back to that love and respect type of thing that we discussed earlier, where like women are looking for the love, men are looking for the respect. And so if I don't cook for you because you didn't do whatever I asked you to do. And then so now because I didn't cook for you, because you didn't do what I asked you to do, then you're going to sleep on the couch. And then now that you're sleeping on the couch, I'm walking around and now I'm not doing laundry. And so that's the negative cycle. And so like the only way to break the negative cycle is like, let me go to the grocery store and let me get him like his favorite snacks, cook his favorite meal. And then like at the same time, like, this is my olive branch. Let me talk to you about this. And so now you've broken the negative cycle with a positive action. And so because that positive action came in, it's like, oh damn, she's being nice to me. Like, oh, I was wrong for that. And so then you shift the cycle. And so every interaction is always negative or positive, no matter who you come into contact with. And so it's like, why not make it positive?
And just one more, and one more thing too, but like if you think about it, negative and positive, we always talk about energy, right? So scientific law, energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. So if somebody brings you negative energy, your choice is to transfer that energy. You can transfer it negatively, or you can take that energy and transfer it positively. Because internally, you are the conduit. So you are the only person that can determine what energy is going to be received based off of what you give. So if someone's only giving you negative and you give them positive, they have no choice but to, at some point, depending on how strong your positive is, become positive.
Yeah.
So powerful, y'all. So powerful. All right, final point. We've been here for almost exactly an hour. And we're getting to the wrap up point, y'all. Those of you, if you're getting value from this on IG, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you're tuning in from, please show us some love. Hit us with some fire emojis, because this has probably been one of my favorite episodes that I've ever done. Show us some love. Share this with somebody. Tag somebody you feel who can benefit from this. Let's get into our final point to keep in mind when building a business with your significant other. Point number 12 is learn about their business and how you can be involved. And I think this can apply whether you're in the same business or not, because if it's not learning let's say we're already in the same business, it's learning their role. Learn their role, the demands of their role, and you know what this is costing them, or the pressures it's putting on them. Because the more we understand about their role, the more we can support them, the more we can take initiative, the more we can take their situation into consideration, and not be in a situation where we're inherently only thinking about ourselves and we don't even realize it. And the reason why is because we can't see what the other person is having to deal with or having to actually do. I think one of the worst things that could happen is the spouse doesn't know what the other spouse's office even looks like. They don't know what they don't know what their spouse is, who their spouse is talking to on a day-to-day basis. They don't know what a conversation or a negotiation looks like, or they don't know the administrative things that the person has to do, and now they're in a situation where you can't take into consideration, you know, what's going on at the end of a long day where they're back to back, or allowing. I think this is a game changer. Here's a practical aspect of learning about each other's businesses, being engaged and being involved. Having access to your spouse's calendar, right? So that you can see, okay, you know, this is what the day looks like. So at the end of a day like this, it's just naturally easier to show a person more consideration if you see they've been back to back and they've been all over the town, or they've been ripping and running, or they had a huge client that they were trying to land, or, you know what I mean? It'll make it so much easier to show consideration and be engaged and be involved if we actually truly are involved.
Not only that, if you're able to see each other's calendars and you are in the same business, you may be able to see how things could, you know, be working better, and like that may not be their skill set, you know, so you guys can merge and you can be beneficial in that way in each other's businesses. For people that are not both entrepreneurs, it goes back to being patient. You know, you want to show interest and be involved in any way that you can if you aren't an entrepreneur, but you definitely want to show interest to stay engaged and not feel like you're being left behind.
Yeah.
Because then how can you help when they're during those down moments in business and they're frustrated? How can you help? You don't know anything that's going on. Or like you said, if you can't see calendars, you don't know what they're even going through, what their day looks like. And by the time they get home, do they even want to talk about it? You know?
And do they like, if you know inherently that the person that you're going home to has no idea what's going on, it almost makes it overwhelming to want to talk about it, because then you're gonna have to explain so much and
experience it all over.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to just being able to share. So I love this tip so much about learn about each other's business, and even if you're in the same business, learn about the other person's role, their schedule, the demands of their day to day, so that we can actually have a symbiotic relationship. What say you guys about this?
I agree, absolutely. I think that it's funny because just both me and Cece being in the beauty industry, I'm sure that our partners, especially Carlos, he markets me to people that he feels like could use my service in a like not humiliating way. Like it's just like, hey, like this is something that I know that her clients talk about that is, or he might be talking to someone, they might say like, oh my gosh, you know, your wife's so pretty, like her makeup's so nice, like I wish I could do X. And then he plugged me in right there without even, because he knows what my business is. He knows the type of service I provide and how I could support the person. Like, oh, she teaches a class, like she could teach you this or whatever that looks like. He's plugging me in, but he knows the capacity and the scope of my service in a way that he could support me by mentioning me, support me by sharing things with me, support me by telling me this is how you can grow. Or maybe I'm talking to him about, you know, the marketing. I'm talking to him about how clients are talking to me. And it's like, okay, well, we can talk to each other about it because he's not actually in the business. He knows it from my perspective. So he knows how to navigate. Navigate, yeah.
Not only that, you may, like you said, you may have connections or things that you implemented in your business that Carlos may not be doing, and it seems so simple and it's a completely different field, but it could still work, you know? So like you don't want to limit your spouse from being able to make those connections as well. So it's always better to be open and honest. And also I just want to highlight that we're not saying that if both of you guys are not entrepreneurs that you can't have a successful relationship. You most definitely can. You just have to learn your person and learn how you have to be able to be the partner that your person needs.
Exactly. No, I didn't mean to cut you off, Cece. I think they're really like one of the biggest things too is everybody, and you can look at this from every context of business too, and even in traditional life, everybody craves a support system. Your number one supporter should be the person that you're sleeping with and waking up to every single day. And if they don't know how to support you, and emphasis on they don't know how to support you because they don't know what you do. So how can I know how to support you if I don't know what you do on your day-to-day basis? I don't know how to provide value to you. So you may come to me with a problem, and that's us as men. We are innate problem solvers. And Vanessa got on me early on in our relationship about this because she's like, babe, I don't need you to solve every problem. Sometimes I just need you to listen to the problem. But me being so solution-oriented, I'm like, oh, well, this is what you can do marketing and advertising to actually generate more clientele. This is what you can do system and process wise to convert clients better. This is how you can target them in this particular way. Like I'm giving these type of insights just because from my background in industry, I understand it at a higher level, not saying that she didn't or that she doesn't, but it's just a different perspective that I can provide because I know what you do. And now I know how to support you. Can you imagine like being with someone that one chooses not to support you, two doesn't know how to support you at all, and three doesn't even care to take the initiative to learn what you do to support you? It's crazy to think about, but that's a reality that some people have to live in every single day. So I think that does go into a lot of everything that we touch bases on today, like being actually communicating, talking about your goals, identifying what you want to accomplish, identifying who you are, knowing who your person is, and then you can easily learn how to support each other when you know each other. And that's really the main point, is like, do you know the person that you're with?
Yeah, 100%. I love this so much. Well, listen, y'all, we've spent an hour together. We want to honor y'all's time. We know y'all are out here saving the world. So what I wanted to do really quick as we wind up, I want to recap really quick. I'm talking about in 60 seconds or less, the 12 points. Cece's going to hit 5 very quick tips. And then I wanted to do a speed round, a Carlos and Vanessa Todd speed round, where basically I'm going to throw out a few words, and then y'all's job is to say the first word that comes to your mind. All right. And the premise of this, the premise of this game is out of the heart's abundance, the mouth speaks, right? So we want to know what's on the heart of Carlos and Vanessa Todd. So let's just recap these 12 points that we discussed on today's live. Things to remember when building a business as a couple. Number 1 is be patient. Number 2 is don't air out your dirty laundry as a couple. Number 3 is stay ready and be flexible. Number 4 is clarify the mood with your person. Number 5, commit to personal development. 6, spice up your intimate life. Don't try to control your person. Applaud your partner. Lead the schedule. Know how to deal with critics. Don't feed anger or frustration. And learn about each other's business. Be engaged and be involved. Can we just talk about how we covered all those points within our time frame? That's super dope.
I know. And then some other things to keep in mind, guys. Your partner must see results whenever you're setting goals. If one is an entrepreneur or if you're both entrepreneurs, you have to be able to see results for everybody to be on board. Because if you don't, just like what, I'm just going to leave it at that. You have to be able to see results for everyone to keep the goals in mind and be able to keep the ship sailing. Also, you have to, if you say you're doing something, make sure you're doing that. So if you work outside of the house, make sure that you're not just being busy. You're productive and doing what you say you're going to do. You never want to lose your partner's trust. It's not impossible to get it back, but it's very difficult. And why cause it? Just make sure you maintain your partner's trust. Another thing to keep in mind is have constant progress, hit milestones, not just set them, but actually hit them, and make sure there is progression along the way. And then last tip is always include your partner. Even if you say the general statement, you're welcome to do this and this, it's still nice to be told or reassured that you are included in any and everything that they are doing, because at the end of the day, we're doing it for our family. So why not reassure them and let them know that they are included in all the decision making?
Yeah, I love it. Too much sauce. All right, so now the spotlight is on Carlos and Vanessa Todd. This is our speed round. Both of you are encouraged to throw out words, all right? And in response, the first word that comes to your mind whenever you hear the word, okay? So the first word is respect.
Communication.
Word number 2 is spontaneity.
Fun.
All right, let's do this. Here, let's do this, because I've never done a speed round with a couple. So let's do this. It has to go back and forth.
Okay, so I'm like,
no. It's their speed round because we're hosting them. So between Carlos and Vanessa, they have to go back and forth. So Carlos went twice. So now it's Vanessa's turn. The next word is commitment.
longevity.
All right. This is Carlos's word, intimacy.
Closeness.
Yeah, he had to think about it. He was thinking about something else. I thought about it too long. All right, this is Vanessa's.
So funny.
In the context, remember these words are in the context of working with our partner. The word is controlling.
Time management.
Okay. Carlos, applause.
Celebration.
Love it. Vanessa, schedule.
Priority.
Ooh, I love that.
Carlos, the next word is critics.
Haters.
Bro, that's the same thing in my head.
Haters.
Same thing in my head. You give the next word for Vanessa.
Frustration.
Anger.
I felt that. And then Carlos, the last word, you can take us home. The last word is support.
Love.
I love it. I love it. I am not gonna lie, guys. So first of all, can we just talk about how like the audience like showed up so crazy for us? Shout out YouTube, shout out IG, shout out Twitch, shout out Facebook. We love you guys so much. This has been Mark Pocock says, I love your shirt, Carlos, land closer.
Hey, shout out to my guy Anthony, Only Closers Clothing, man. You gotta tap in with my guy.
Yeah, shout out my brother Anthony Hernandez. We love you. This has been my favorite live that I've done. I don't know if it's because me and you have never hosted a live together.
No, I just join sometimes, but no.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's just because this was the first time that we hosted together, or the fact that we hosted it and like we brought on like people that like our energies are so aligned, I feel. So why don't we hang out more? I don't know.
We not on the calendar.
Hey, nah, for real. Like
that's a 72-hour rule.
No, we are in the same city. We definitely have to be getting together more. But this has definitely been my favorite. Let's do this to close out. What words of encouragement would y'all have for individuals who either are in a relationship that maybe they might be struggling a little bit, or they're thinking about entering into a relationship and they just need some advice? What words of encouragement would y'all say for other couples who are working together as building businesses?
I would definitely say that if you handle your significant other as your best friend, plus a tier up from there, then y'all be locked in, because imagine losing your best friend. That's not acceptable. You wouldn't do that. You would always be respectful in whatever you bring to them. If you feel like you can't be respectful, you'll wait. And
you tell them everything.
You tell them everything. You love them. You're proud of them, and you're locked in with them. So imagine your very best friend that's not toxic, that cares for you, that reciprocates your energy, that you can laugh with. If you call and you say, "Hey, what y'all doing?" and you say nothing, and it's fine with you, that's good.
Yeah, it's one of the first things I told you was like, we can't date unless we're best friends.
Right? Like you locked in.
No, you hit everything on the head, literally.
Yes. Nah, let's let the ladies close out. So what about you? What words of advice would you share? The same scenario.
I think it's important to know, if you have found your best friend, to understand that they don't have all the answers either. So if you found someone that a connection is undeniable, and you know that is your person, like, why tear them down? Like, they're learning too, and just grow together, or you'll grow apart.
I love it. Nah, the ladies held this one on their back, bro. I'm not gonna lie. They carried this one on their back. I love it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning on. Thank you, Carlos and Vanessa, for coming through and showing love to the audience. I look forward to doing this again. Until next time, it is Aaron and Cece with Carlos and Vanessa. Drive home safe. Love on your loved ones. Brush your teeth. And for goodness sakes, don't slap nobody. Let's get it.
Yeah.
We made it, that's facts, ayy. We the greatest, that's facts, ayy. Prices raising, that's facts, ayy. That's right. But we paid it, that's facts, ayy. They hate it, that's facts, ayy. Cause we changing, that's facts, ayy. We did. Can't blame them, that's facts, ayy. Cause we made it, that's facts, ayy. Cherry on top, that's a goat, yeah. Where you been, I wanna know, yeah. Greatest story ever told, yeah. Greatest story ever told, yeah. I know you wanna look up for this. Baby, let me turn you up a bit. You said you made it through hell and back. Give me the scoop, baby, tell the facts. Don't be shy.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all. Oh, snap.
That was
we got